But the last time we talked, I've got my notes from our conversation. We went over, kind of our main points for the year and what's happening with all that stuff. And then we mentioned that we would talk today about affordable housing. The next, we have set up the next meeting for that group, and Matt Horn is going to lead that meeting.
I'm sorry, who is going to lead?
Matt Horn.
Oh, Matt, okay.
Yeah, we may or may not potentially be working with him in a more official fashion for that group in the future. I'm not sure, but at least for this meeting, I'm going to let him lead it. He's got some experience in this, and I just feel like that group, we just need to find some direction with that group. They're really excited, and I know some of you were at that meeting. They're really because this group was founded just on the premise that we need to figure out, affordable housing. There's not a direction yet. There's no goal. There's no, everybody just agrees it's a problem. And that's kind of what the first meeting was like, so we got to try and figure out, get them a little more focused.
Yep.
But so at the end of the last CIC meeting, that's what we said we were going to talk about today. So I don't know what you guys want to cover in that. I don't have an agenda for the affordable housing meeting yet, so we can't really talk about that group really more than the meeting. But you're the CIC. This housing team is kind of a subset of the CIC. And I know we've talked about this before, but what can I take to them, or can we, who are, for the others of you who are also on that housing group, what can we take to that group as a request? Is there a request? Or what would you like to see them answer, a question or something to focus on?
Okay, I'll go. I would like to see us develop a roadmap. And I know you want something to focus on, but we need to develop a way to get there. And in order to get there, we're also going to need some form of a budget. And that's going to be an important item that we would have to put together. I believe we should look to get input from either state or county or metropolitan area organizations that already are trying to address this. And I've been doing a little bit of research, and there are some states that actually have, and I don't know about New York State. I wanted to see a wider range. There are some states that actually have an affordable housing unit that has a relative, some of them have a relatively large budget for a state budget. And then it has separate area units by, two of them that I looked at had units by metropolitan areas, rural communities, suburban areas, that type of thing, narrowed it down by the community type. And I think we need to narrow it down by community type, because we have a unique situation. We have a city and a town, and actually a county. And I do believe the county should be involved. Yeah. Okay, just chime in, folks.
I think that we're looking for, at least I'm looking for, some basic information between the nuances of the programs that are available, whether they're a state program, a HUD program, a county program. So if we've gained a lot of information from looking at other sites and other states and see what they're doing, I'm not clear I know exactly the difference between some of these programs that we're going to be looking at. So I think in the beginning, I would just like to know that, just some basic information about affordable housing, who would be involved, yes, a budget, that would be great because, this sounds like we're going to have somebody who is knowledgeable in this area to guide us, since, we're neophytes at this. So yeah, those are all good things. I think that, just speaking as a CIC member, that we could probably want to bring back to this, committee, so that we know what in the heck. So I'm looking for maybe some materials that we could pass along to, not only to the Affordable Housing Committee, but also back to the other CIC members, so that because the Affordable Housing Committee is going to have to give a report to the CIC at some point. And so there will have to be reference materials that the Affordable Housing Committee is using that could benefit the CIC review.
Anyone else?
I also think we should obtain a list or put together some sort of reference of state agencies that already are doing this, and like maybe a couple of points of what direction they're taking and how they're determining that direction. I mean, I don't think we're going to be looking for help from any of these groups. I think we're going to go our same way, but doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to refer to them at some point in time and whatever we're doing. For example, Pathstone with their mortgage rates are cut rate pretty much now anyway, but the types of things they do to help people purchase homes and make it affordable. And some of the other things, some of those people that attended our first meeting are pretty much urban affordable housing agencies. And in my opinion, urban versus, I don't know whether we're rural or suburban, maybe a combination of both, is going to be entirely different.
I think the other thing that I would like to I don't think we can nail it down right now, but I know the LDC is doing some work in their own organization, and wondering, Matt Horn right now, and of course Doug, are the liaisons between the LDC and the affordable housing. So it would be, I guess we need to know what the LDC is thinking about, how they want to cooperate or be a part of the affordable housing movement, or, whatever we want to call the process. Because they would be a big player, I think, in the, kind of the regional city and town jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that if Matt is going to be doing the next meeting, that perhaps he could get the conversation to set up some parameters or guidelines, for the group to be able to pass on to us. I mean, right now, I don't know if there's any type of a definition for affordable housing. Any site you go on, it's always different. And Karen brought up a good point. Are we rural or urban? I also keep in mind on the uptown development that's going to be happening. I think that's going to be an important player in all this at some point.
Yeah. I'm going to mute for a few minutes. We have to print checks because town board was last night and it's right behind me. So just for a few minutes, I'm going to mute because it's just going to be too loud. But I've been taking
my last
notes,
name's
so
with a
keep
capital
going.
P. P-I-E.
Keep going.
Yeah, I think actually that that Matt is kind of a pivotal person here right now. He's standing in the middle of a lot of information that I'm hoping that at least in the next meeting, he'll be able to disseminate to, you know, the Affordable Housing Committee. And then that's why I'm thinking that some kind of reference materials from that meeting would be helpful then for the CIC to kind of see how we're moving forward.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm on the New York State Affordable Housing Corporation website, and they have it broken down by region. Of course, we're the Finger Lakes region. So as I look through, and they're giving resources to use, you know, in addressing affordable housing. Most of those resources are Rochester, New York, you know, Bishop Sheen, City of Rochester, but some counties like Orleans and Genesee County have what they call a community action group. And Genesee Valley, Mount Morris, that's Livingston, has a rural preservation corporation. And of course, Habitat for Humanity is throughout the state. But the Keuka Housing Council, and that's it. So I don't see anything for Ontario County or the Ontario, Seneca, Wayne County area. It seems to me that perhaps these counties join forces because this is a really large, inclusive subject. And all three of those counties are pretty much the same type of area, community area. But I think we should think in terms of talking to some county people about having a larger scope program than just the town of Canandaigua.
It's possible. The other thing I'm thinking is, what does actually the Geneva Housing Authority do? How far is their reach? Are they just into multiple family, you know, that kind of thing? Or would they, or do they have any outreach or into, you know, single family? So I think that it sounds to me like the Geneva Housing Authority was an entity that we should be getting information from, at least to see the bigger picture of what's happening, you know, in our region. And I'm sure Matt has, you know, he worked with them extensively when he was in Geneva, so he's got all that.
Gary,
Yes.
at last night's town board meeting, did Doug bring up any proposals for a consultant?
Not any proposals per se, but he brought it to the attention of the town board. And I was going to mention that in a moment, but I'm glad you brought it up, Oksana. And Matt Horn's name was, you know, mentioned that he'd be the one that we'd be looking at since he has the experience in it. But I agree with, like Karen, you know, it's probably worked better if it's a multi-county or multi-areas, you know, to work with this, because other people have got to have, other communities got to have the same, be in the same situation that we're in regard to affordable housing.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a
And
sense,
I don't think we'd want to go through all this work, you know, and apply it just to our town. This is a lot of work. I mean, you know, this is a lot of research. This is a lot of delving into larger picture issues. So housing is always a big picture issue. So yeah, I think you're right about that. I think that we may eventually, you know, not in the near future, but possibly we would just be a member of an organization or something that would feed into the larger operation, or at least a county committee that could be working on this. And because, you know, we don't have really affordable property. Building something in the town of Canandaigua that's affordable, you know, that's kind of an iffy situation, because just of the fact of the cost of the, you know, the parcel.
So I'm on the Geneva Housing Authority website. Their mission is to improve the quality of life for the Geneva community and surrounding areas, specifically its lower income residents, by administering public and private housing assistance programs and promoting the development of affordable, decent, and safe housing opportunities and encouraging economic self-sufficiency. So that goes with what Joyce is saying. We don't have the capability of, building affordable housing, but I also don't think that we want it to be our mission to be a front runner for other support agencies. I mean, I
Right.
think that's on a larger level. I think that's something you'd go to the county for, or a region for, to find out what services are available in to help supplement people in their search for affordable housing. I don't think we as a town want to do that.
No.
I don't think so either. I think as far as administering, let's say administering some kind of a HUD grant through the state or something like that, I don't think that we want to get into anything like that. But that's what Geneva Housing Authority sounds like, is what they do. They're that
Right.
middleman, we're the on the ground, the development of the parcel in our town or somewhere. But we're not that. I don't think we want to take on that big responsibility of administering grants.
Exactly.
$1 million grants I'm talking about here. We're not just talking about, $50,000 grant.
Right.
But I administered the New York State grant for downtown on there, and I think it was over $1 million total, I think. And I'll tell you, it's just a bear. It's a totally
Yeah.
different ballgame.
Yeah, I don't think we have staff for that. I don't think that's our intention, is to have Sarah, the administrator of a $10 million grant and kind of squeeze that into her other, duties. So I think that middleman that Geneva could be, and other agencies, either Pathstone or maybe DePaul or whoever. I'm still thinking about DeMarco, and I'm just thinking that DeMarco would be able to explain to us, even though he did at the planning board level. I happened to be on the planning board when that came through. And there was a lot of conversation about how it actually works, and the $1 million grant that they got, from the state, which was actually federal funds. And it took them a long time. This just wasn't a process of that was quick to move through. So any of this kinds of underwriting all these projects is going to be very time consuming. So you need to have that entity. I think that's
Well,
going to be there.
they just applied for another one and did not get it.
See, this is the way that process works. You have to apply, and for this area, Sarah, for in this area,
Same development,
same. But I mean, in the town, that's what I'm saying.
Creekview.
Oh, really?
Oh, same development. Oh, really? What do they want to change the market rate to?
No, they weren't trying to change anything. They were just looking for additional funding for some of the next phases. But
Oh, wow.
I don't think they're going to stop. I think they may try and do it again. But
Uh-huh.
Well, I think another area that we should be looking at, you're talking about Geneva Housing and places like that. I think we should be looking at how effective they have been. And we don't want to get, affiliated with places that are not very effective on accomplishing affordable housing.
Well, okay, I do know that Geneva Housing was the one that was instrumental in bringing the Liberty Apartments, that's for the vets over there in Parkside. I know that they were very instrumental in that. So they've been that conduit for funds to the veterans. So, they have been successful in our town,
Another active community to look at also is Ithaca, because of the college being there. In fact, I believe it was the comprehensive plan that the city was doing quite a while ago, that a couple people came up from Cornell, and did studies and things like that. They could be very helpful also.
Yeah.
I think it would be smart if we invited a county person to attend the meeting and hear what we have to say, because honestly, I don't believe, I believe the things we can do on the town level is code changes to encourage
Yeah.
smaller lot sizes.
Exactly.
And smaller plot sizes too. I mean, there's no honestly, people can live in a 500 square foot home. It's and it can be affordable, and it can be nice. And I think those are the types of things and changes we can encourage and work toward. But
Yeah.
I think on the higher level, providing support, rent subsidies, grants, lower finance rates, things like that, down payments, because Pathstone will help you with down payments, things like that. It's a much larger issue.
Mhm.
And in order to be effective, it's got to be at least on the county level, more likely on a regional level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I would agree.
Karen, who would you suggest that at the county that we reach out to?
I'm going to find out. I'm going to talk to Mike
Okay.
Manikowski and ask him.
And the other
find
thing
out.
is that Matt's already been through this. I'm sure he already has connections with the person in the county who is going to be pivotal in that area that could offer us some information, if nothing else.
Karen, if you find out a good person, can you put me in contact with them so I can make sure they know about the
will.
group and when it is and all that?
I will. And just for Joyce, Matt Horn on a regular basis works with our Economic Development Corporation and at the county level. So he's well aware of
Yeah,
of those types of things. And in fact, through that, we do talk about affordable housing because it's an element in economic development. If you're going to have economic development at the $15 to $20 or even $25 an hour range of salaries, which we require in some of our applications, you need to have affordable housing to bring those workers into the county.
Mhm.
Or be able to find those people within the county. So he actually on a regular basis comes to our meetings and talks about things.
Good.
So I agree with you. I'll find out. I'll try to find out somebody.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it sounds like this group we started within the town has grown well beyond that before we've even really gotten started.
Mm.
Because you're right, it does seem like we're pretty limited to what just the town and the town board can actually do or take
Yeah.
action on to help.
So is the town board behind this, Gary? Did you say that?
Yeah, I believe they are. I mean, it didn't come to any vote or anything like that.
Actually,
And,
you guys did pass a resolution saying that we would start this group and that was one of the
Okay.
priorities. So, I mean, yeah, it was in that, the resolution that's every, December, that
Yeah.
says what the CIC will focus on the next year.
Yeah, yeah.
So officially, yes. Insofar as starting the group to explore it. But yeah, I agree with you, Gary. There really hasn't been any further discussion at the town board level about it, has there?
No, it just touched on it last night there, and you've already covered, about Matt Horn and everything, which the town
Right.
board was made aware of.
I just want to mention here, the CIC did have an affordable housing presentation from Matt. And I just have been going over all of the information, the reference materials that was presented to the CIC at that time. It might be possible, Sarah, that we could either send them out again, because it's been January 2020 that we've had that, but also to the individuals on the Affordable Housing Committee, although they probably know exactly much more than we do, because that's what they're in. Most of them are in that line. But anyway, I just think it gives everything that I just asked for, actually. Gives us information for reference materials, and it gives us talking about town code here. And so there you go. It's pretty
We got it. Yeah.
pretty, pretty all in one place. Just
Does it
remind.
look like the stuff that Eric put together for us that had
No.
information on demographics and some stuff on town code, and it was all related to housing?
I think this was from the presentation that Matt gave us. It's dated January 21st, 2020, and it says Town of Canandaigua CIC Affordable Housing Presentation Summary. And that's what their presentation was. And then there is a number of handout that was, it says equal housing, and it's background material here and apartment buildings. What does that mean for the town? So this could have come from Eric, because it looks like we're talking about code sections where affordable housing would be a factor.
Yeah, I think we or Doug had asked him to put some stuff together, and he did, and I just can't remember when he sent that. Because I'm trying to figure out where I need to look to find when we should.
Yeah, well,
I'm
it's
sure
gonna be
did I
before
share it as an
January.
email? I won't have any paper copies anymore, but if I shared it as
I've
an email, I
got
can
the
find it.
paper copy here, so if we need to just review it or whatever, scan it again if you can't find it. So
look for
let me see. Okay, this is.
Are there quite a few pages, Joyce?
Oh yeah, it looks at all of our code, our current code anyway, as of probably January 2021.
Because I don't recall that coming before the ordinance committee at all, so.
No, it wasn't a
So
code
here's a
update. It was
copy.
just what we have already.
Okay.
Yeah, just what we have. Yeah.
No.
Sarah, here is a copy of the email from Eric. It's dated 12/17. And it's to all of the CIC. And since we had a conversation earlier today about affordable housing, I wanted to send along the data that I've gathered during the comp plan update process. When the census is updated in the next few years, we will hopefully receive an more accurate. So anyway, that's I believe the attachment that we're talking about.
Okay, I'll find it and I'll reshare it with everyone.
Okay. It's a really good, there's part of that email is a graph that talks about the different housing units and cost for housing, what makes them affordable. Pretty interesting. I got to review it. Okay.
Good.
By the way, Sarah, I won't be I'll be on vacation when the next affordable housing. If it's going to be a Zoom, maybe, I don't know what I'll be doing, but.
It will be Zoom. You'll still get the invite if you feel
Yeah,
like joining during
Come in, I'll
vacation.
do it, but I don't know. I'll be out in California, so.
Hey, Pat, just a question. Rocco is involved in so many different projects. Does he ever hear anything, from the developers or builders? Or?
Well, being in development, the costs to put in the infrastructure before a person can even get building on a lot it's pretty astronomical, really. You've got if there's a sewer and water area, just like Fox Ridge, for instance, it takes a lot to even get started for a builder to come along and put a house up. And maybe if some things were kicked back a bit as what could be required, like maybe you have a plot of land and you don't have to put in concrete gutters and you could handle drainage differently, or, maybe get a little break on certain items that you're required by the town to accomplish before a building permit can be issued. It's still costly though, and when I think of affordable, I wonder to myself, well, what does that mean? Is it Mr. and Mrs. Smith can afford $500 a month to
Mhm.
live, or $400 a month to live, and where can we put them? I think of like apartments or renovated older homes, or even manufactured a home community, but a lot of people are not in favor of something like that. But in my brain, that's affordable. I don't know. And Karen brought up the tiny home community once upon a time. It's like, where in Canandaigua could that plot of land be that could be zoned for such a thing? And people around it not think that it's like, oh, I don't know, not to their standards, or not in my neighborhood kind of thing, not that people ever do that sort of stuff. But those are all, it's hard to be affordable in our area. We have a lot of people that come here of means, and it's hard to make it for maybe locals who can't afford. So it's definitely challenging, that's for sure. But
Yes.
Sal, the infrastructure is a big thing. It really is. Because you can have 20 grand or so into a lot, maybe 30 grand developing that lot to get ready upon which to build,
Mhm.
Right now, that's just how it is. I think any developer that's working in Canandaigua would agree on that,
Mhm.
without subsidy anyway,
Yeah.
Great insight, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks for asking that, Sal, because I was going to ask the same question.
Ah, good.
so infrastructure, the cost assuming the cost of infrastructure can be spread over a wide area. And I believe when it comes to thinking about affordable housing, single family housing units, we need to look at development. And a developer goes into an area and installs the infrastructure and builds X number of units at a cost, and that infrastructure is amortized over those units. But the developer, and this is where code changes would come into effect, where a certain percentage of that land could be allocated for smaller size lots and smaller size homes. And that's where some affordable housing would happen. But I agree with you that a lot of affordable housing is rental property and support of that type of thing. And that's the same thing though, because you're amortizing the infrastructure over a wide range of people. And you can do that in a development. I agree 100%. You cannot do that on a single family plot somewhere in the middle of a field. You cannot do that and have it be affordable. But there are ways, and it involves people that know the code and how to work with the code to encourage that type of building process.
Mhm.
And I don't
Would
know
it
the
make-
code.
Would it make sense to invite a developer for the next meeting, just to hear
No.
some feedback from them?
I think that we're not even at a point yet, the affordable community. We've got to get basics here. We have to get our own agenda. We have to we should have somebody coming, lots of guests who can tell us what the state of, the town of Canandaigua is in as far as development or whatever. But I think for next meeting, it's all about basics, and let's get our act together and figure out, how we're going to do this and answer all of our questions and feel comfortable, with the information that we have to move forward. But definitely, I think we should be interviewing a developer, multiple developers, as a matter of fact. love to have a panel of developers coming to the Affordable Housing Committee and give us their take on what's happening and what they can afford and what they can't.
It would be great to
Well,
have a passionate developer who is passionate about providing affordable housing. How to find that person, I don't know, but I agree with Joyce about the next meeting.
Okay.
I
there
think
anyone-
that another area to consider, and I know this is soon, but is also, I mean, would be the agricultural industry here. I mean, it's so large, the great business is going gangbusters, beer, spirits, and you need people to be able to do that, you know, to be able to work, and it's something to keep in mind also. That was just on my mind. I know it barely doesn't make much sense, but
Sal, are you meaning that worker housing on farms?
sure,
Are you
that could be part of it.
Yeah, because we did have a number of those kinds of opportunities for farm labor on a number of the larger farms. And now, right now, I don't think that's happening. What, Gary, do you see that happening now? I know
No.
that Purdy's used to have, and some other farmers used to have, you know, some kind of, you know, manufactured homes or either trailers or something like that, and there was code that they had to follow and, you know, whatever. But yeah, I guess, is that just gone out of fashion? Is it didn't work? Or maybe we could find more information from a farm community, some, you know, members of our farm community who say, yeah, that's not possible now.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I could check that out, but you're right, Joyce. You know, where the larger farmers used to provide housing for them. And I think that's probably why Genesee County and Orleans County are moving forward with affordable housing, because out that way, there's a lot of, you know, seasonal workers that come in as they do up in Wayne County and everything too. So,
Right.
Yeah. I know Marion, the town of Marion used to have a lot of affordable housing for workers, and that's really been cut back. So I don't know what the situation is there, how the migrant labor, you know, is housed.
I know Dale Heminger of Heminger Farms pretty well, and he too has migrant workers that come in for a period of time, and he is really a very responsible farm owner and tries to provide for these workers. I think I hear what Sal is saying about farms, because that's an important part of it. When we have, that's part of our economy, for one thing, is migrant workers, and keeping them employed and in living situation that is, I mean, it's not going to be really high class or anything, but it's going to be a good living, comfortable situation. I think that's really important. So perhaps it'd be worthwhile to have someone like Dale or one of the local farmers. Dale's different because he does farming on a large scale, primarily cabbage at this point. And and that's typically where his migrant workers work, because cabbage plants are planted individually. But he's part of this area, you know, he's so close to us. I think somebody like that would be good to attend one of our meetings, because I think it's important to farmers also.
I know the
well,
Purdy's.
as Sarah will tell you, that, you know, the Ag Committee is involved with Casey Coons, I think his name is, right, Sarah?
He's
And
at FAL Farms,
he works for them, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
he's a partner. Casey is a
Right,
partner,
yeah.
yeah.
Kendall Farms, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of information to uncover. It's right here under us, you know, around us somewhere. It's just, you know, having the time and the right people to come to the Affordable Housing Committee and actually enlighten us.
So I've got about 3 pages of notes of everything you guys talked about. I'm actually talking with Matt on Friday to talk about an agenda for the next housing meeting.
Oh, good.
And I'll talk to him about what we want to know, and see what, what ideas he's got, and see what we can find out, or see if we can get some answers from the group, or give them some guidance to get some answers for us.
Mhm.
I think giving them guidance would be very, very helpful.
And focus, because, like you
Yes.
said, we as a town aren't going to be developing a bunch of programs. They
Right.
already exist, and there's not a lot, that we can do on our end besides, looking at code changes and things like that. So yeah, really, we need to find out what can this group do for us or with us, or how can we get it a little better organized, or at least find out if that is a goal, getting it organized to provide information. I mean, I don't know what the end result is going to do, but it sounds like there might be several different things they can focus on. And
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
plan for when and how.
Yeah. And, the CIC is developing the expectations now for that too. Like you say, we can't just let the Affordable Housing Committee just go all over the board. This is a very targeted, I think, kind of information that the CIC will need for our town.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I've got enough to get us going. More than enough. But I think we knew that when we got this started, didn't we?
Yeah.
Let's see, what is today? Today is the 18th, which puts our next meeting June 1st.
Yeah. Yep.
June 1st will be before the next affordable housing meeting, so I won't have any updates for you at that meeting. But looking back at what we talked about last time, maybe it would be a good time to talk about form-based code. There's a meeting on that tomorrow, and there's also a meeting with the Economic Development Committee. Oh no, that won't happen yet either.
What meeting tomorrow?
It's just the ordinance committee. They are going to look at it a little bit.
Oh,
We're going to try to wrap it up pretty well on that tomorrow's
And then
meeting. Because we-
Oksana, the next meeting with the Economic Development Committee to look at
it's
the
on
next
the 3rd.
steps. Right. Okay. So that'll also not happen before our next meeting. I think
Yeah.
I'd rather CIC talk about it after these 2 meetings.
Yeah.
So let's see. The other items are signage,
It won't happen until the next day on the 2nd.
right? And conservation subdivision.
We could do that.
We've had a couple meetings, and I know some of you are on that, but some of you are not. We could kind of go over that a little bit, and then kind of explore that. The other thing is that team was originally created as a conservation easement team, but all they've done so far is all they've had time to do so far is focus on conservation subdivision. But when they're done with that, the team is still in existence. Well, if they want to be. It's been a lot of work, but they're gonna there's plenty of other things they could focus on too. Well, does it make sense to talk about that next time then?
Yeah.
What is the committee going to talk about in that regard? Because like I said, we've had a consultant appear before the ordinance committee, for that, and on the form-based code with Kim from Bergman. She's going to, review it tomorrow at our ordinance meeting, and we spent a lot of time on it. thought, we're going to start moving it forward through the committees and to the town board for a public hearing, as well as a conservation one also within another couple months, where we
Right.
had Barb from Labella as
Labella,
a
yep.
consultant on it.
Hmm.
Yep. And then, Gary, I think your question is what's next with form-based code? There's still the other phases. I think
Okay.
because there's still the other, this particular
Yeah.
form-based code is just the section along 332.
Right,
But then
uptown.
there's still the other recommendations that they're working on for the other sections that are kind of back off of 332 that we haven't completed yet. So I think that might be the focus of the next Economic Development Committee meeting, if I remember, if that's our process. I think
Yeah.
that's what's next, right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So Gary, as soon as you guys are done with this section in ordinance, you'll get another one shortly after.
Well, we already got one that Joyce didn't finish up for us on the ridge lines.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's never a
Oh,
shortage.
gosh. I have to, I want to hear what you guys are going to do with that. That'll be interesting.
That's like the affordable housing. There's a lot in it.
Oh, boy, there sure is.
Well, if
Especially-
the ordinance committee is busy, it means the town is constantly improving, right?
Yeah, or in turmoil,
You would
either
hope.
one.
Or at least trying to. Oh, we lost Sal. Okay, well then, unless something changes, that's what we'll plan. We'll talk about conservation subdivision, and then if there's time, maybe we can kind of branch on to what comes next. See what other things there are that they can be working on. I guess I'm optimistic that maybe it's moving along.
So Sarah, is there any information from the conservation subdivision meetings that we can have ahead of time?
There is some draft materials that I can share.
Okay,
Because their next meeting is, I want to say it's next Monday. So there might be some additional things after that I can share.
When is their
Okay.
next meeting, Sarah?
Let me just double check. I want to say it's a week from today.
I thought it wa- oh, no.
Yes, 24th at 10.
24th?
Yeah.
I can't be there on the 24th. Okay.
which meeting is that, Sarah?
The conservation easement team focusing
Oh.
on the conservation subdivision review regulations. Yeah. With Barb Johnson and Labella and
Yeah,
yeah, their meeting's next Monday, but so, our meeting will be a week after that, our CIC meeting. So anything new they've got, I can share with you what they've done to date and what what materials they have. And so I won't send anything now. I'll wait and see if there's any new versions next week and I'll share that.
okay. Gary,
Yes.
at your meeting tomorrow, are you going to be discussing the digital signs presentation from Lamar?
We are.
Okay, and what are you doing with that?
We're almost to the end of what we can do in that regard. Right now, it's up to the attorneys for both the town and Lamar to work some things out. And you're probably looking to ask about in regards to the digital signs, if it's going to have like the town of Canandaigua on it and stuff like that. Is that what you're referring to, Oksana?
Well, no, whether we want digital signs or just the signs the billboards that are there.
Well, that's going to be, not determined by the ordinance committee. It's going to be determined by the town board on that. And that hasn't been, discussed at that level yet.
Okay,
But that was one thing the other day, and I hardly ever come down that road from Victor to, Bloomfield, and saw their nice sign that they have right at the start of their township there coming out of Victor. where you come into East Bloomfield. And signs like that look kind of nice. I think, because then you could have one starting back by the Ace Hardware for the town of Canandaigua.
Yeah, I think that's the entrance right there.
Is that 444
Yeah, 444, yeah.
coming into Bloomfield?
Well, it's after you leave Boughton Hill area and stuff like that, going down that road. There's a sign there for, indicating that you're in East Bloomfield.
Okay,
And I think there's one on 5 and 22 going westbound, but I haven't been that way in a while either, so I can't
There
remember.
is one going into Bloomfield. I think theirs is a metal sign,
This one, I was thinking it was wood, but I could be wrong.
maybe.
Bloomfield also has a sign on County Road 64 going from leaving Bristol to go into, so East Bloomfield's got a lot of signage in their gateways.
Even Bristol does.
Yes, that's right.
They're little, but they're there.
Yeah.
All right. So until we meet again on June 1st, and hopefully I'll have some information for you to share, or for me to share with you next week, so a week ahead after the conservation subdivision meeting. And then later in June, then we can talk about where we're at with form-based code and the other one I mentioned now, I can't remember. Oh, signs and stuff. From the Gateway Signage Committee, that's the other sign topic, the welcoming signs, not digital and billboards.
And I don't know, Oksana, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Lamar did do another presentation before the ordinance committee, last meeting. And that's available, I would imagine, right, Sarah, by YouTube?
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Gary, I was at that Zoom meeting.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I attend so many meetings, I
Yeah.
forget.
I know.
All right. Well, that's all I've got. But thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You
Thanks.
can get all this stuff
Yeah.
figured out.
Thank you
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
also. See you all
Bye-bye.
next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Hey, everyone.